Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. Gratitude is more than a polite response. It's a profound acknowledgement of God's presence and blessings in our lives. As 1 Thessalonians 5:18 reminds us, giving thanks in all circumstances is not just a suggestion, but God's will for us in Christ Jesus. Gratitude invites us to live fully in the present, recognizing that every moment is a gift from God. Let's dive into the transformative power of thankfulness and contentment as we learn to align our hearts with God's will. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's missing to what's abundant in God's provision. Thankfulness is the key to unlocking peace and joy in your heart. A grateful heart sees blessings in the ordinary and the extraordinary. Living in God's will starts with recognizing His hand in every moment. Gratitude reminds us that God's grace is sufficient no matter the season. Contentment comes when we trust God's timing and purpose for our lives. A heart filled with gratitude is a heart that overflows with God's love. Thankfulness is the antidote to anxiety, turning worries into worship. In every challenge, there's a reason to give thanks. God is always working. Gratitude draws us closer to God, acknowledging His faithfulness in all things. A grateful spirit is a reflection of a life surrendered to God's will. Gratitude is not about circumstances, but about trusting the one who controls them. Contentment grows when we stop striving for more and rest in God's provision. Gratitude for today prepares our hearts to embrace God's plan for tomorrow. Even in trials, there's room for gratitude. It's a sign of faith in God's goodness. Thankfulness opens our eyes to the beauty of God's creation all around us. A thankful heart is a joyful heart, and joy is contagious. Gratitude keeps us grounded in the truth of God's sovereignty. The practice of gratitude transforms ordinary moments into holy encounters. When we live with thankfulness, we live in alignment with God's perfect will. Gratitude turns obstacles into opportunities to see God's power at work. A content heart reflects the peace that comes from trusting God completely. Thankfulness is a daily choice that leads to a life of fulfillment and purpose. Gratitude is a form of worship, honoring God for who He is and what He has done. Contentment is the fruit of a heart that knows God's promises are true. In every blessing, big or small, gratitude acknowledges God's generosity. Gratitude reminds us that God's plans are always for our good and His glory. A grateful perspective changes how we see challenges, making them opportunities for growth. Thankfulness lifts our spirits and strengthens our connection to God. Contentment allows us to experience the fullness of life in Christ. Gratitude is a shield against envy, reminding us of God's unique blessings for us. In every season, gratitude aligns our hearts with God's eternal purposes. Living in gratitude is living in the light of God's unfailing love. A thankful attitude transforms our relationships, making us vessels of God's grace. Gratitude for the present fosters hope for the future, rooted in God's faithfulness. Thankfulness redirects our hearts from complaints to praise. Contentment teaches us to find satisfaction in God's presence, not in possessions. Gratitude is the gateway to experiencing God's joy, peace, and purpose. A grateful heart testifies to the world of God's goodness and provision. Gratitude helps us see setbacks as setups for God's greater glory. Living fully in God's will requires a heart that finds joy in His provision. Contentment frees us from the pressure of comparison, resting in God's plan for us. Gratitude draws us out of self-pity and into the light of God's blessings. Thankfulness fosters humility, recognizing that every good gift comes from above. A grateful spirit magnifies the Lord, showing others His goodness through us. Contentment is a testimony of trust in God's perfect plan for our lives. Gratitude fuels our faith, reminding us of God's past faithfulness in every moment. Thankfulness is a discipline that trains our hearts to see God's hand in all things. Gratitude is the posture of a soul at peace with God's purposes. In every season, give thanks, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. 1 Thessalonians 5:18. Gratitude for the present is a declaration of trust in God's will and an act of faith in His unchanging character. As 1 Thessalonians 5:18 reminds us, thankfulness is not dependent on our circumstances, but on our relationship with God, who is faithful in every season. Let us live each day with a grateful heart, content in His will, and full of faith for what lies ahead. I'm Abigail, your host. Have a wonderful day filled with gratitude and God's peace.